everyone, I'm Linda Vesser. Welcome to Fox in Focus. We're here at the Coast Guard Station, New York, just a short boat ride from downtown Manhattan. This station answers hundreds of rescue calls a year, everything from boat fires to national disasters like the September 11th terror attacks. In the next hour, you'll meet the men and women who perform some of the most dangerous rescues in history. And you'll see a side of the seagoing service you didn't know. So let's hit the water.
When the alarms go off, I'm launching to rescue people.
He's away. He's in the water.
You pretty much just go into the training mode, think of what you need to do.
Move back and left. Thank God.
It gives you a great feeling of adrenaline, a great feeling of a job well done, of saving somebody's life, because that's our job.
They're coming up. I'm bringing them up slow.
It's just about saving people's lives.
When it comes time for us to go and do that search and rescue case, we're at the top of our game, and we're ready for it.
Semper Paratus, always ready. It's the motto of the smallest but busiest military force in America, the United States Coast Guard.
You never know when you come to work what you're going to be doing.
The work is dangerous.
We put our crews in some pretty difficult situations, and there's always a potential for somebody losing their life in some of the conditions that we work in.
And the hours? Long.
It's constant operation now. It's 24 hours a day.
A force of 35,000, they have to keep watch over more than 3 million square miles of ocean. Search and rescue, or SAR teams, mobilize in less than 30 minutes, and they're on the scene in little more than an hour. Last year, they responded to more than 54,000 distress calls and saved more than 3,000 lives.
I want to thank everyone.
If a vessel's out at sea and it calls in a distress call, they're going to recall us just like they would a fire department. Once we get on scene, we would evaluate the situation, and if necessary, we would send a rescue party aboard, and then, if necessary, evacuate the crew aboard that vessel.
Like this 1994 rescue, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The crew of the Gambler desperately tries to pump water from their sinking fishing boat. A Coast Guard cutter arrives, pulling the fishermen off the deck, and not a minute too soon. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a pleasure boat taking on water and pulled by strong currents is carried underneath a barge. Hearing the screams, a nearby Coast Guard boat responds, saving a family of 5.
We have lots of ways of getting the mission done in the U.S. Coast Guard.
One way to get it done, send out an H-860 Jayhawk.
The H-60s are a multi-mission aircraft. It's a wonderful helicopter. It's got a lot of power, a lot of capabilities.
And a well-oiled SAR team. Winter 2000, the cruise ship the Sea Breeze is caught in a violent storm 200 miles off the North Carolina coast.
The captain was frantic. He was taking on water in the engine room. The boat was going to sink. It was about 25, 30-foot seas. The ship was listing to the right. You get scared for a second, but you concentrate on the job at hand.
With winds pummeling the chopper, pilot Dan Moulton and rescue swimmer Robert Florisi pull the terrified crew off the deck.
We maintained a hover, just try to maintain 20 feet above the swimming pool deck right there, and we just stayed there for over 26 minutes, just going up and down with a hoist, and we ended up hoisting the 26 people in 25 minutes, which is awfully fast.
Helped by another Coast Guard chopper, Moulton and Florisi rescue the grateful crew.
I would like to express my thanks to U.S. Coast Guard, who respond very quickly and save literally our lives.
For Coasties, it's all part of the job.
I'm willing to give my life up for someone else because that's just the job that I chose to do, and if I have to do it, I will.
When you pick somebody out of the water, and here they are coming up in a basket, and they're sitting there going, there's going to be another day. Right there's enough of a reason to come back the next day. I mean, you didn't have to pay us for doing that.
When we return, we're going on patrol with the 21st Century Coast Guard. Also, you'll meet one of the real heroes behind that amazing rescue from the blockbuster movie, The Perfect Storm.
The wind was starting to blow, it was raining, and you could tell, oh, geez, there's a storm.
Welcome back. When you're out on the open ocean and you're going down on a sinking ship, seeing a Coast Guard boat or chopper is one of those thank you, God kind of moments. But there are other people who would do just about anything to avoid a run-in with the U.S. Coast Guard. Chasing drug runners across open oceans.
Go to the forward part of the vessel.
Plucking helpless boaters from raging seas.
Only strong survivor in. Silver survivor in the cabin going off Mike. Roger.
Defending American ports against terrorist threats.
I know that my harbor is being protected. I mean, I know personally because it's my job to know that.
Just some of the missions of the United States Coast Guard.
Contigo, this is North Happy, no problem, folks.
The 5th Armed Service stretches from Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, home to Camp X-Ray, all the way to the polar ice cap and beyond. Under the Department of Transportation's control during peacetime, it's drafted into the Navy's command during war.
The Coast Guard has participated in every one of the nation's wars.
It was the Coast Guard coxswains that piloted the transport boats that day on the invasions of Normandy on D-Day.
Riding into the teeth of the Normandy coastal defenses, carrying the hopes of the whole free world.
Some 8,000 guardsmen fought in Vietnam, and today the force is a critical weapon in the war on terror.
We've got a Coast Guard that's now actively patrolling our coasts.
We're actually out watching the waters, watching the coast, and providing a presence for the American people to know that we're out there and we're watching.
Out there and performing a multi-mission job.
Firefighters, ambulance service, and police all wrapped up in one service.
If you're from Nebraska, chances are you don't know what my job is. The only time you're going to know is if you get in trouble. Then you yell Mayday into the radio, and you're actually surprised that there is a service that was tailored to do this job, and that's us. But it's more than search and rescue. We are the law enforcement on the waters.
About 30 years ago, we got smarter and figured out that we could do ourselves and the public a favor if we worked harder in the prevention area.
And doing so by cracking down on recreational boaters.
So if you have a boat started, John, can you make way?
The amount of water accidents is reduced quite a bit.
Preventing environmental disasters.
If we're able to prevent an accident or an oil spill, first of all, there are no victims, there are no fatalities, there are no oily ducks or oily beaches.
And policing America's nearly 400 ports.
We're just making sure that everything is safety and nothing looks out of the ordinary.
Drug runners move 80% of their illegal stash by water. It's a Coast Guard job to bust them.
The United States Coast Guard! Turn off your engine!
And they do, making more than half the government drug seizures. Now, new weapons are joining the fight.
Operation New Frontier was developed in response to counter-narcotic smugglers' use of what we call go-fast boats.
Speedboats too fast for traditional cutters.
We developed two capabilities. One was armed helicopters and also our own fast boats. The helicopters will be the first on scene, and they first direct the boat to stop, both in English and in Spanish. If at that point they haven't stopped, then we will use warning shots fired in front of the vessel to try to get it to stop. And if the go-fast boat continues to move and away from us, then we have sniper rifles to shoot out the engines of the boats. That's been a particularly successful operation for us.
It's not just drug runners. The Coast Guard stops and turns back thousands of illegal migrants each year.
Basically, they're guys that stuff together and dump it in the ocean. There's seen Empress down around 2 years old, just in a diaper.
Come out with your hands up!
There are a lot of dangers in dealing with illegal immigrants because they are fighting for their freedom and they want to make it to land.
Despite these dangers, the Coast Guard always answers the call to duty.
We're a service that helps people, whether it's down in the Caribbean helping migrants or Cubans or doing search and rescue or flood victims. We help people, and that's what I liked about it the most.
And what do they hate the most?
I'd say leaving work in the afternoon. It sounds funny, but I love this job.
You've seen the movie. Now meet the real people behind that dramatic rescue from the perfect storm. That's next.
Because hurricanes are, you know, they're like a blind date. A few pan out and a lot of them don't. But
a violent tempest ravaging the eastern seaboard. Hurricane winds and crushing waves. You put a 32-foot sailboat in the middle of it all, and you've got one of the Coast Guard's top 10 rescues of all time. The only storm in history with its own book and movie deal, the perfect storm was dubbed the Halloween storm when it struck in 1991.
This storm was one of the worst storms, I'd say, of the last 25 years.
During the week leading up to October 31st, 3 weather systems, including Hurricane Grace in the south, converged above America's northeast coast, churning sea, land, and air into complete chaos.
The winds did approach and exceed hurricane force winds over a large area for periods of time.
For retired rescue swimmer David Moore, the storm stirring these skies was just like any other.
We knew it was a storm, but we went out and stormed all the time.
150 miles off Long Island, on a small sailboat called the Satori, things began to get rough.
we'll sit here until they decide what this hurricane is going to do. Because hurricanes are, you know, they're like a blind date. A few pan out and a lot of them don't.
As the small boat spun and crashed between wind and waves, Captain Ray Leonard remained calm, but his two inexperienced crew members were getting nervous.
It's a scary place to be. It's not unsafe, it's just scary.
His crew, however, was not so sure.
One of the women on the boat, I believe, called in a mayday.
A passing merchant ship heard the mayday and offered to help.
I said, no, I don't want you anywhere near me. You're a big steel ship. I'm a small fiberglass boat. These waves are too high.
Then the Coast Guard arrived.
We felt that they needed to be rescued. When we got there, we saw the seas were pretty big. The wind was very strong.
Ray Leonard disagrees.
I truly believe that the boat was seaworthy and was not in any danger.
The Coast Guard cutter Tamaroa launched a rescue boat as David Moore watched from the helicopter hovering above.
They only want to use the aircraft if they have to because it can be, fairly dangerous.
But the rescue dinghy capsized, failing to reach the sailboat.
I heard over the intercom, okay, we'll get ready to deploy the rescue swimmer. And that's when I realized, oh, geez, that's me.
Signaling the Satori, Moore made the call to abandon ship.
They went off one by one. The two women sort of went together holding each other. And then the skipper of the sailboat, he came off last.
This is the boat just before I left it.
Then Dave took the plunge.
You're swimming uphill, up the swell, and you swim as hard as you can to not lose headway.
Ray Leonard was just visible over the whitecaps of the swell.
The sailboat drifted away, and you could see him. You could tell he was really distraught at this point because I think he actually was kind of hitting himself in the head. He didn't want to come off the sailboat to begin with.
Reaching the women first, Moore brought them safely into the chopper.
The first person goes in the basket, goes up. I swim back. I get the other woman, bring her back.
He was less confident about the skipper.
I knew that he might be different. There might be a little extra going on here, so I approached him cautiously. His back was towards me. I just grabbed him, took control of him, really didn't say anything to him. Went back, put him in the basket, and he went up.
The rescue was a success. Days later, the Satori washed ashore undamaged. Ray Leonard has doubts about abandoning that ship.
You can see that the little storm jib is still up. The worst thing was ordering the vessel abandoned. Mm-hmm. That was a mistake. There was no sense to it.
But a mayday was sent, and the Coast Guard responded. For David Moore, it was an unforgettable experience.
If you get lucky enough to have a rescue like that in your career, that would be the defining moment of your career.
So what does it take to jump out of a hovering chopper into 20-foot seas? Well, for starters, you better know how to swim.
Down, up, go!
Tested beyond their own human strength. Pushed to their emotional limits.
You guys understand?
These guys are trained to do the seemingly impossible.
This is what I came in the Coast Guard to do.
I want to be a rescue swimmer.
This is the Coast Guard's Rescue Swimmer School.
Being a rescue swimmer in the Coast Guard is
this is the best job in the Coast Guard.
In just 15 weeks, these first string recruits will find themselves in rough water, engaged in some very real life and death rescues.
We don't make rescue swimmers here. We find them, and then we give them the tools they need to carry out the job.
But only half these trainees will graduate and become part of the Coast Guard's new squad of aviation survival technicians.
A rescue swimmer is very intimate with the public that he comes in contact with because he jumped in the water and risked his life for that person, and that person responds. I know that when I've pulled people out of the water and we've gotten back in the aircraft, you know, you can see it in their eyes. They'll look at you and you get that, you know, thank you, that look.
Rescue swimmer Joseph Flyeth has been thanked for more than 19 years. Now he's molding new recruits.
The young bucks that come through here are looking for adventure and to get out front and get in the thick of it. We do a concerted effort here to squash egos.
This is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically, of course, it's very straining on you.
But this intense strain is what these students have to overcome to be part of the Coast Guard's finest.
And we don't need a bunch of yahoos running around the hangar deck causing hate and discontent.
Out on the open sea, a rescue swimmer never knows what he'll encounter. So during training, students are confronted with the same obstacles and time pressures as an actual rescue. In the bullpen drill, recruits are confronted by 4 instructors.
And that's 4 instructors in a circle, and the student swims into the middle, and he spins, and the instructors make a lot of ruckus, but at random, one instructor will grab him. And he'll have to go down, get that instructor in control.
Then there's the Sharks and Daisies drill,
where an instructor will just kind of hang out in the water, and as they swim by, he may reach out and grab them, you know, and put them in a hold, and they have to break it and get him under control.
And finally, pilot rescues. These recruits are nearing the finish line.
I won't see any problems out here during this drill. You people all have the capacity to get through this school. I expect you to do it. Is that clear?
Yeah!
The kid knows what he can do and what he can't do, and he's saying that this isn't for him, and so I honor that.
A trainee calls it quits.
There comes a time where, you know, after a certain amount of time, we just kind of all come to the realization, look, you know, maybe this isn't for you.
But Flyeth has to be realistic about those trainees who can handle the job and those who must move on.
I don't want to be the one standing before his mother or his wife saying that he died on duty because I didn't train him well enough. So if I have to err on the side of conservancy, I will.
Students who make it through the grueling program are immediately sent to an air station. There, they'll begin their careers saving lives.
It's one of the hardest things I've ever done, but when you actually do it, the instructors, you know, kind of give you a pat on the back or let you know that you're capable of doing it, and that's probably the best thing about it.
Now it's no more heated swimming pools for these guys. When we come back, it's open seas and god-awful weather for the rescue swimmers. Try passing the grade at this Coast Guard school.
At the school, they're getting the training and they're getting the worst conditions that we can possibly throw at them.
And then, it's a day we will never forget, and the Coast Guard was there.
It was just dust, the big smoke cloud. That's when we had to come in with our respirators and our goggles so we could just get along the seawall to see what we can do, if we can find anybody in the water.
Now their job takes on new meaning.
We're just making sure that everything is safety.
We'll do it to a 52-foot motor lifeboat underway.
Real-life Coast Guard Rescues returns after this break with the latest headlines. Welcome back to Real Life Coast Guard Rescues. I'm Linda Vester. 15 weeks of training in a pool was just the start. Now try hovering in a chopper just above churning seas, jumping out to save a life, and doing it all before your fuel runs out. Are you tough? Tough enough to handle this?
Port right 5. Swimmer is Pat Randy.
You're going to have to be if you want to join this team.
Okay, ready? Here we go. Let's go, men.
When a distress call comes in, there are only two ways rescuers can respond. By air
Basket is on deck.
or by sea.
52-foot motor lifeboat underway. Roger that.
80 specially equipped motor lifeboats like these stand ready all around the country to tackle the roughest water.
This boat will allow us to go into 30-foot seas, 50-knot winds, and 20-foot breaking surf.
The kind of surf that's pounding these coasties at the National Motor Lifeboat Training School in Washington State.
The Columbia River Bar is basically our playground. The north end of the Columbia River Bar, which we call Peacock Spit, is what we call the graveyard of the Pacific. And since I've been at the school and since I've been in the Coast Guard, I've seen upwards of 10-plus vessels go down just in that one area.
But not these boats.
The 47-foot motor lifeboat is designed to be able to self-right, which means if it's knocked down or turned over, it will rewrite itself and come right back up. Here at the school and using the Columbia River Bar, they're getting the training and they're getting the worst conditions that we can possibly throw at them. When we take our students out into the breakers and we do the surf training with them, there's always a chance that we may not bring one of them back.
The more unforgiving the conditions, the better the training. And the same holds true in the air. This is the Coast Guard Station Astoria, where every day is training day for a search and rescue air team. It's also home to Advanced Rescue Swimmer School.
You've already been through your initial training in North Carolina. You go to your station, you get qualified on your helicopter, and you start standing duty as a rescue swimmer. Then you will get sent here.
We have that basic rock-solid training so that even if a situation is slightly different from the norm, we have the basics down pat as a team, the group of us, so that we can adjust to any differing situations.
Outside the cabin door.
And Fox got a jump seat view of that teamwork.
Bring the swimmer in the cabin.
It's a tight-knit crew with a pilot, co-pilot, rescue swimmer, and flight engineer, all working together to save lives.
Once again, utilizing the rescue basket with trail line to the 52. Brace complete.
It takes a lot of training and working together as a team with the crew.
Board right 10. Board right 5. Easy. Trail line is on deck, being tended. Clear my back and left. Roger. Deploy the swimmer. Deploy swimmer. Swimmer is away. Swimmer's in the water.
Inside the cockpit, the pilot takes control.
It's our job to respond if someone's in distress. We stand 24-hour shifts, and we're ready to go at any time, in the middle of the night or during the day, if a vessel's taking on water or someone's injured and needs to be evacuated for any reason.
When did the evaluation? Looks like kind of rollers at about 2-3 feet. Winds are off the nose south about 10 knots.
And when the call comes in, it's time for the rescue swimmer.
We're an asset that the helicopter can use when they need someone outside of the helicopter to complete a task. So we're there to go down to the ground or down to the water to help execute the rescue, basically.
Even if they make it out of the chopper, they never know what they'll face once they reach the victim.
You have to be assertive, you have to grab them, you have to take control of the situation. Sometimes you have to be loud, you have to get a good grip on them, take them under control with a good carry, and let them know what you're going to do, and don't take any questions.
The swimmer is in the center of the action, but it's the guy manning the hoist who runs the show.
This aircraft, I am a flight engineer on this. I am fully qualified. Operate the hoist operator, basically, is what we can do.
A mechanic by trade, the flight engineer, or flight mech, maintains the chopper on the ground, and in the air, he's the eyes and ears of the rescue.
When I am back here, the pilots can't really see what I'm doing, especially on a dark night or anything like that. They just see black in front of them. So I've got to paint the picture so they can basically see as if they were looking down. That is what they're seeing.
Roger, come in. Roger, forward right 50.
You have to have a lot of confidence in your teammates in the helicopter. I have to have confidence in the pilot and the flight mech to be able to get me back out of the water. They have to have confidence in me being able to get down into the water or on the land and help the people and get out of it. And I'd say we're real unique in the way we work together that way.
Unique, indeed.
it's incredible about how we all work well when we're out there in a SAR case. It's working together to save that one life, and we do it well.
Linda Vester, Fox News. And their teamwork has paid off. Since 1990, the Coast Guard Search and Rescue has saved more than 150,000 lives. Up next, the Port of Miami, a magnet for drug smugglers and illegal immigrants, keeping the Coast Guard busy. We're going on patrol with Station Miami right after this.
The biggest thing is the drug smugglers these days are they're in their faster boats.
Stop your engines immediately. Go to the forward part of the vessel and put your hands up where I can feel. Everybody stand up and go to the forward part of the vessel and put your hands where I can feel. This is the United States of the Coast Guard.
Welcome back. Nearly 8 million tons of legal cargo flows through the Port of Miami each year. But an illegal cargo of drugs and migrants also tries to make port in Miami. It's the Coast Guard's job to stop it. Miami, city of sun and fun, a teeming metropolis of almost 400,000. Tourists flock here from all around the world, eager to kick back and relax in the Sunshine State. It may seem like a water wonderland, but dip below the surface and a very different picture emerges. Drug smugglers, undocumented migrants, and boat fires are par for the course, presenting dangerous and challenging problems for Miami's Coast Guard.
Any given day, it can go from 50 boats going out to over 1,000. So it's a lot of boats and a lot of traffic going in and out.
The day begins quietly for boatswain Billy DeVito and his crew.
Sir, can you bring it down? Can you put it on idle?
This boat gets pulled over for exceeding the speed limit.
How you doing? I'm Officer DeVito at the U.S. Coast Guard. I'm going to make sure your vessel's in compliance with all federal laws and regulations. I need to see license and registration first.
DeVito also has to check for life jackets and fire extinguishers.
You guys have a good day. Be safe, all right?
More than 3 million people filter through Miami to vacation on cruise ships every year, and the Coast Guard is responsible for their safety. It's not always routine. In 1998, the Ecstasy sent out a mayday call after a fire in the crew laundry room spread throughout the ship. The vessel's 2,575 passengers fled to the upper deck.
What was on fire?
60 suffered smoke inhalation. It took the Miami Coast Guard 90 minutes to put the fire out. Not one life was lost. Cruise ships aren't the only traffic on these waters. Drug smugglers are drawn here since it's a vast and porous entryway to America.
In Miami, like everywhere else, drugs are a very big problem.
Sailboats, yachts, freighters, almost any vessel can be used to transport illegal drugs.
The biggest thing is the drug smugglers these days are they're in their faster boats. The drug business is a big business. A lot of money's involved.
But not every smuggler traffics in drugs. Sometimes the payload is human cargo. Waves of illegal migrants flood America's shores each year. This man was picked up on a routine patrol.
Well, this person is not arrested. He's just detained right now. We saw him on the pier. He was walking around, and he seemed a little nervous.
It's a suspicion that pays off. Thankfully, this man is only an undocumented migrant. In this post-9/11 world, everybody gets a second look. And sometimes they don't want to be seen. These illegal migrants try to escape into the night on 2 speedboats.
3 of the people who were on the 28-foot Go Fast boat gave themselves up. The 2 other individuals that were on about a 20-foot boat took off heading north, tried to make a run to Key West or Marquesas Key.
But they can't escape the Coast Guard's forward-looking infrared radar.
Some of these guys are getting up to $8,000 a head for bringing people here into the United States.
It's not always a matter of money. Desperation and the promise of a better life are what drives some others to make this very treacherous crossing.
Their lives are a lot worse than mine, because if they're willing to get on a small little raft and float out in the ocean with no destination.
These illegal migrants try to fend off the Coast Guard by throwing anything they can find, a scene many coasties are familiar with.
They're fighting for their freedom, and by the time I see them, they've seen land, and they really want to get there. So all they see is me standing in their way.
Confronting dangers both big and small, the Coast Guard keeps the Port of Miami on an even keel.
Coast Guard Station Miami Beach.
Alarm could go off and we have a vessel taken on water, or there could be a boat fire, or there could be illegal immigrants coming and we have to respond.
From the warm waters of Miami to the still haunted harbors of Manhattan, September 11th sent a shockwave across this country. When we return, Station New York responds to that awful attack.
It was just dust, the big smoke cloud, and you couldn't see anything. That's when we had to come in with our respirators and our goggles so we could just get along the seawall to see what we can do, if we can find anybody in the water.
For coasties here at Station New York, Manhattan's majestic downtown skyline was always one of the perks. It's a pretty sweet view while you're out on patrol. But that skyline, this city, and our whole nation have been forever altered by that one September day. The day began like any other. Coast Guard reservist and New York City firefighter Bill Simpson reported for duty at Station New York.
I was upstairs preparing for the day's events. We have some new people on board and we do some training.
But at 8:45 on that warm September morning, everything changed.
We have a very tragic alert for you right now. An incredible plane crash into the World Trade Center here at the lower tip of Manhattan.
The first plane hit, I was outside talking with my CO discussing future operations.
I looked out the window and I saw large amounts of smoke coming out of the Trade Center. It's the most amazing sight I've ever seen in my life.
In minutes, amazement turned to horror.
The second plane flew over and we just watched it. It seemed like slow motion, like the plane was going so slow.
And the next thing you know, we just disappeared right into the building.
At that point, I knew that this wasn't just your average plane crash. This was terrorism.
Station New York had trained to answer most emergencies, but nothing could prepare them for this.
Every situation you're in, you get into, especially in the Coast Guard, when you put your own life in danger, and when you know you're going out saving our lives, it's easy because we're told that's our job. This here, we had no idea what our job was going to be. All we knew was that we were under attack, and we had to assume some sort of positive role out there, assisting, or keeping everybody else calm, and really just basically shooting blind.
So they brought every weapon they had to the fight.
Coast Guard station's right over here. Coming through about 10 o'clock position.
We have what we call a catastrophic search and rescue plan, and we implemented that immediately, which basically meant that we launched every cutter and boat and aircraft in the area to respond.
As the Coast Guard raced to the scene, the chaos mounted. Panicked people packed the Battery Park seawall, desperate to escape the burning buildings. Then, the unthinkable happened.
The second World Trade Center tower has collapsed in lower Manhattan. There are no more.
Everything just broke loose from there. People were, all along the seawall and stuff like that, waving for us. You couldn't see any of this. It was all covered. It was just dust, the big smoke cloud, and you couldn't see anything. That's when we had to come in with our respirators and our goggles so we could just get along the seawall to see what we can do, if we can find anybody in the water. We picked up sneakers, we picked up pants, we picked up briefcases, we picked up UPS packages, but luckily there was no people in the water.
No one in the water, but another potential danger. Hundreds of boats jamming the waterways.
Everybody knew they wanted to go in there and start helping out, but we also knew we had a role out in the harbor. If I got tied up in there, then there would have been no one left back out to direct traffic and to keep other people from going on.
With lower Manhattan engulfed in a cloud of smoke and dust, Boatsmaid First Class Wahlberg, along with Coast Guard officers from across the city, coordinated an evacuation of thousands, directing an armada of tugboats, barges, and personal craft, ferrying the terrified throngs to safety.
You really didn't think about our own personal safety because we looked at the towers and we looked at the people on the seawall, and we just thought our job was to help them. We didn't really consider ourselves as an issue.
For me personally, I don't feel like I'm a hero. I think all the heroes are all the firemen that passed away, and I have a cousin John, and his wife Sylvia were killed at the Trade Center. I know my cousin John. He probably tried to help as many people as he could get out, and he was trapped above the fire, and all the firemen that were trapped in the buildings when it collapsed, I think they're the heroes.
It's been really tough for me to deal with it, and because I never thought in my lifetime I'd ever see anything like that happen.
Completely different feeling now. I mean, like I said, you used to come up here. This used to be a nice ride for us to come up here, and especially in the summertime. After September 11th, it just has a different feeling about it altogether now. I mean, it just has a whole new meaning.
The Coast Guard lost 3 of its own that day. In fact, 1 from this very station. Now the whole Coast Guard is answering the call in the War on Terror.
It's not the Navy, it's not the Army, it's not the Marines, but it's the Coast Guard. It's actually protecting our harbors and ports and are ensuring that nothing more happens to this country.
In the wake of September 11th, the Coast Guard immediately mobilized the largest port security operation since World War II. But think, its force is smaller than the New York City Police Department. And yet the Coast Guard is doing it, accomplishing the task of defending our waters.
Fire on the Hudson. Number 1 is approved as requested. Roger 1. It's Station New York.
Huntress, this is traffic. Go ahead. You're in the Coast Guard's Vessel Traffic Center. We watch the comings and goings of all the ship traffic in New York Harbor.
Prior to September 11th, this busy Coast Guard station would be looking for everything from safety violations to environmental hazards. Now, the focus has changed.
I'd have to say the biggest change was our awareness.
Within days of the savage attacks on New York and Washington, the Guard's mission went from safety to security.
It's not the Navy, it's not the Army, it's not the Marines, but it's the Coast Guard. It's actually protecting our harbors and ports and are ensuring that nothing more happens to this country.
2,900 Coast Guard reservists have been called to active duty. And with 386 major ports and hundreds of coastal refineries and power plants along 95,000 miles of coastline, they've got plenty to do.
Well, the Port of New York and New Jersey is an extremely busy port. It's the largest and busiest port on the east coast of the United States. We get about 30 foreign vessel arrivals every day and about 600 large ships moving within the port.
Now, a full 96 hours before one of those vessels can dock, it must alert the Guard's National Vessel Movement Center.
We're able to get a complete crew listing, which we run through our intelligence databases, and we know what kind of cargo they're carrying. If they're targeted for a boarding, the Coast Guard will conduct a boarding before the ship enters the port.
And if the U.S. Coast Guard wants to board your vessel, it's an offer you can't refuse.
We are the law enforcement on the waters. We have the authority to board you anytime, at least any U.S. vessel anytime we want to, and we have the most power. We don't need warrants to do what we do.
Okay, well, boarding team is out there.
Since September 11th, the Coast Guard has boarded more than 2,000 vessels in New York alone. And they do it day or night. Passports are checked.
Got family here?
Cargo inspected. And it's not just tankers and container ships that get the once-over.
So we'll board the pleasure boats, sailboats, motorboats, commercial boats. We're always examining the little things. The family of 4 that would never get a second look now gets that second look. The foreign flag vessels that we know just come in and out, now they're always on our mind. We're making sure that nothing's coming close to them.
Once the Coast Guard has conducted their boarding and cleared the ship for entry into the port, they'll contact this Vessel Traffic Center, and then the Vessel Traffic Center will enter them into the system and then allow them to come into the port.
There, the vessel's every move is monitored by surface craft or electronic surveillance.
We have 16 cameras throughout the port, and those are trainable, so we can turn them from this location, so we can pretty much see anywhere within the port. If you couple that with the radar picture, we pretty much know where every cutter and boat is within the port at any given time.
A new Sea Marshals program has specially trained guardsmen escorting selected ships to dockside. But wherever they are, on land, sea, or in the air, they now share a common mission.
Everyone in the Coast Guard plays a vital role in Homeland Security. From the junior member to the most senior member, they're all involved.
It was an eye-opener for me to see how much we've come together and how much we've also changed, and we've grown as a service and we've grown as a family.
Now, help is on the way for the Coast Guard. President Bush has proposed the largest budget increase in the service's history. With new technology and more personnel, the Coast Guard really will be always ready. If you'd like to learn more about the Coast Guard or this show, just log on to foxnews.com. I'm Linda Vester. Thanks for watching.